Hey, good morning to you guys. Wherever you're listening from, Lagos, Jos, Abuja. Good morning. My name is Kalu Aja. This is Business Paper Review with me. We do this every Monday. Talk about the major news, set you up for your week with the business stories, right? Usually we start off with like the macroeconomic, numbers and all, inflation, GDP, but no big change there. I think the main change is the exchange rate. I am seeing reports that is as high as 800 naira to a dollar. That's just ridiculous, guys. Just ridiculous. But that's what I'm seeing. Inflation is still 20. GDP is still where it was. Oil output. I mean, we don't have the new figures yet, but it's still down. I saw a news story by the Minister of State for Petroleum saying we are still about 700,000 locked in, although we see them say Shell's going to start to pump via the Trans-Nigeria pipeline. So we watch. We'll see if there's going to be a change. But the main macroeconomic change I want to bring to your notice is that the Naira seems to be exchanging at a weaker value of about 800 and falling. So let's get to our main stories this morning, right? The first one is rather good news that I saw last week. This is saying that the African Development Bank is partnering with other funders to launch a 520 million special agro-industrial processing zone in Nigeria. Essentially, what this is, the ADB, together with some other partners, the Islamic Development Bank, are going to invest, give or take, about $520 million. They're going to go to the rural areas where certain cash crops and food crops are grown, and they are going to essentially invest in infrastructure in those rural areas. So, for instance, if you have the onion market in Kebbi, they would go there and put power, roads, digital infrastructure, logistics in that rural area in Kebbi, right? And then they can then produce onions cheaper. And of course, this increases supply. This is exactly what China did. You go to rural areas and you make those places very, very conducive for investment. Because if I'm an agro processor, like I produce maybe onion powder, and I can get power supply, water, and in that rural area in Kebbi, then it's easier for me to go there. My cost of setting up is way, way, way reduced if I go. As soon as a $520 million investment, beautiful, right? I think the Buhari administration is really a bit too late to really take advantage of this. So I would say to any incoming or the candidates, you just grab the ADB and just see how this would work for them, and they can incorporate it. They are starting from 8 states. The crops they want to do are basically, I think it's, let me see if I can get the number of crops that they want to do, about 8 crops that they want to focus on. And they're doing about 8 states in Nigeria. I think it's Imo, Abuja, Kaduna, yeah, Cross River, Imo, Kaduna, Kano, Kwara, Ogun, Oyo, and Abuja. Those are the states that they're going to essentially start from. So if your state is selected as one of this that's going to benefit, I'll say congratulations to you. So that's great news for us to start our morning with some great news there. Let's get to the other stories. I think the main story this week is this redesign of the Naira. I think we did a space on that on Saturday. The Central Bank of Nigeria wants to change the design of the Naira. Usually this is nothing. Usually this is not a story, right? The US just changed their currency. Same with the UK. The difference is that when the US changes the currencies, the old currency is still legal tender. Nigeria is essentially saying that every currency we have today, all the Naira we have today, has got to go to a bank, a Nigerian bank, from today till I think January 2023. If you do not take that currency back to a Nigerian bank, it will no longer be legal tender from January 2023. So essentially, we're going to destroy a lot of currency, take it out of the system, take it to the banks, then just bond them up and reissue new currency. So it's a big difference there. And the CBN is saying they're doing this because 80% of the currency is outside the banking sector. Hence, when they do monetary policy, it does not really have an effect because they can't affect that currency that is out there. Okay, but I saw a story on Bloomberg and they are quoting the Nigerian president. And the Nigerian president is saying that he's, of course, tongue in cheek, that he supports the policy, and he's saying that it would fight counterfeiting and inflation. I agree with him completely on the counterfeiting part. When you change the design of the naira, of course, if you've counterfeited or if you are stockpiling and naira, you're going to be on the wrong end of the stick, right? But inflation, I'm not sure how this fights inflation. Changing the design does not make inflation worse, doesn't make inflation go down. It has no effect per se on inflation. You can still write a check and buy goods. You can still do money transfer and buy goods. This is just paper money that's being changed. So I'm not sure how changing paper money would fight inflation. If the cost of diesel goes up, the hotel is going to increase their price, irrespective of how you pay. If you're going to pay in naira paper, or if you're going to pay with your card, or you're going to write a check, the cost will still go up. Perhaps they're looking at it that if you take away the currency in circulation, then people will not have currency or cash to buy product, hence the price would go down. That's a bit funny. That's like saying that if you take away food, then people won't get hungry anymore. It doesn't make any sense really. So this wouldn't stop inflation. It has no effect to inflation. It really would go after the hoarders, the illegal folks that have stolen cash and have stockpiled it for the inflation. It would also help in the very, very short term, allow CBN to do some monetary policy because the cash is going to flow in January. So January, February, March, you're going to see CBN's monetary policy would have an effect. But after then, I think the cash is going to start to go out again. My personal view, this is not the real policy. This change of naira is not the real policy. I think this is the thing to bring the money into the system so that the policy can then be implemented. It's something that's going to happen in January 2023, and they need the cash to be in the banks to do that policy. I have my ideas, but I think that's really where they're going to with this. So that's that on that exchange on that naira. I think some of it is a bit overblown. It's just paper. You can write your check. But what I'll say is this: if you are selling stuff in Nigeria, don't accept cash anymore. Just take my. I mean, what I mean, don't accept cash. Don't accept 1 billion, 100, 5 million, all those large amounts of money. Take your money in a check, man. You don't need the aggravation. They're telling you it's January. Trust me, it's going to get messy. If you can avoid cash payment, just get your check, your POS, your money transfer. Just do that. Ignore cash till January is done. That's just my advice for you. Let's touch on this exchange rate 800 naira to the dollar. It's crazy, guys. I see news articles blaming this on the currency design. No, of course not. That's not why it's going down. Naira has been going down ever since, I mean, for the last 5 years, it's been going down, but it's accelerated this period for many reasons. Number one, we're no longer exporting crude oil, right? What I mean, we're no longer exporting, we're down 700,000 barrels that we can't export because of oil theft and shortage. That's number one. Number two, we've overborrowed that the revenues Nigeria even makes when we export crude oil cannot pay even the debt we're owing. That's number two. Number three, the central bank itself has printed about 20 trillion. So when you print 20 trillion without an inflow of crude oil dollars, what happens to the currency? It becomes, quoting Idi Amin now, it becomes like toilet paper. So if the naira is no longer a store of value, why shouldn't it go down in price? It has nothing to do with design. Nothing. The naira today is a derivative of crude oil. If crude oil prices go up, naira goes up. But if crude oil prices go up and you don't export, then you are not going to take the advantage of that increase in crude oil price. Hence, the dollar has to then trade appropriately. Like I said, I think it was a week ago, it's more fathomable that the dollar gets to 1,000 naira than the dollar going down to 500 naira. I mean, if you have to do a bet, 1,000 or 500, I think $1,000 would win. I'm not saying it's going to get there. I'm just saying after those two options, the odds would favor 1,000 than the odds would favor 500. So that's on that. This terror alert story is a big deal. It's an economic story as well. It's not just a terror alert. It's an economic, it's not good at all. I mean, if you're not aware, the United States Embassy has given very direct warnings that there's going to be an attack in Nigeria, in Abuja to be specific. They've asked everyone to hunker down or to leave the nation. Over the weekend, we heard the DSS had stormed an estate in Abuja, arrested some ISOP, some terrorists, bomb makers, and guys that were going to attack a mall, something like that. So this was not like some the warning was real and there was going to be an attack, but it splashed all over the pages, right? It splashed all over. So if you are this investor that was going to come to invest in Nigeria, you read all this terrorism. It's not good. This is also the reason why the dollar is falling, because then what's going to happen? People are going to take off, right? If there's going to be any remittances coming to Nigeria, it would hold on and see, hey, let me see what's happening before I remit. The central bank has no dollars, man. It has no dollars. So this is all what is going on. It's actually all what's going on, and really, we are up against it. We need some very very good news come out of Nigeria. We need it soon, so things can just lock back, because we can't. If a dollar gets to 1,000, and we still have crude oil theft going on, then technically there'll be no economy anymore. So we don't need that. I mean, where will inflation go to? 30%? Well, what are we going to do? All right. And then this story about the FIRS. The FIRS is now is basically going to collect taxes. So if you do betting in Nigeria, when you place that bet and you make the winning, or when you place the bet, the FIRS has this new software called Sentinel. It will basically collect your taxes at source. So they've asked the betting guys, the football betting guys, to all go register with FIRS so this can happen. The real story there is this: if they can get this to work, then expect this across board. Expect to see this instant deduction of taxes across board, like VAT, right? So when you pay a contract, you pay your tax immediately. If you ride a taxi, you pay your taxes immediately. So if they can install this and it works for the tax and for the guys, then of course they can do this for every industry. It's good. It helps them raise tax revenues. Nigeria's tax revenues are the worst, not in Africa, in the entire world. Nigeria generates less tax per GDP than Afghanistan. It's crazy when you think about it. We make all our money from taxing crude oil, but personal income taxes, nowhere. If you take away VAT, then you'll be surprised how many people pay tax in Nigeria. So not good. We can do better on that note. So guys, we've run through about 5 stories. There are lots, but I want to leave you guys. Maybe someone has a comment to make on any story you have heard. I also saw the Peter Obi has released their manifesto. We're going to dive into it. We've done that for the Bola Tinubu campaign and for the Atiku campaign, where we look at their action plans for the economy, and we're able to just give our own take on it. So this week we're going to do some reading. I did see something very interesting in what Peter Obi is saying. He wants to transit to an hourly wage structure. I don't think we have the time to get into that, but it's very interesting, and it's very very what's the word now, transformative, to go from monthly to hourly. It's not just getting your money by the hour. It's a lot to move to that. We'll get into it during the week. All right, guys. So if anyone wants to have a word to say, this is your time to speak, or we'll just call it a day or a morning. And hope you guys all go out and have a great Monday. So going once, going twice. All right, guys. You guys go make that money. Stay safe out there, especially my Abuja people. And I'll see you guys probably during the week or on Saturdays. Join the spaces. We always have a spaces 7 p.m. West African time, where we talk about the economy, money, and investing, and we make it personal for you, how it does affect you. All right, guys. I'll see you guys later. My name is Kalu Aja. You all take care, and bye.